Maria. Yeah, Maria.
Hello. What do
Hello.
you recommend for fat loss? I've been in CrossFit for the last month and in a calorie deficit.
Oh my God, that's not it. That's not it, is it, Maria? That's not it, is it? What do I recommend for fat loss? Well, I don't recommend CrossFit. So, but I mean, look, if you're doing that already and you're in a calorie deficit, the problem is that's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not saying this is the only way, this is the only outcome, but this is what's likely to happen. You're going to be hungry. You're not going to be getting enough nutrition. You're going to be doing a lot of exhaustive exercise and you're going to binge eat. You're going to cheat and like fall off your diet because you're going to be so fucking hungry and starved that you're just going to start pounding any carb that you can find, sugar. You're going to fall off. It's really not sustainable. A calorie deficit long term is really not sustainable. What you really want to do is focus on getting in. Here's what most women, and most people don't do this, but most women are the ones that are wanting the ones that want to lose most fat. All right, guys want to get abs. Most women just want to be less wide, right? So let's just I'm just trying to speak generally, third grade level. You don't want to just be starving yourself all the time because a calorie deficit doesn't really work after a while because you can't just go less, less, less. You can't do 2000, then 18, and then 15, and then 14, and then 12. You can't just keep on eating less and less. It's going to fuck out. It's going to fuck up your hormones too. It's going to fuck up your sleep. And then you're going to have other issues. So if you're negatively affecting your sleep, going to sleep hungry or not eating enough nutrient dense food and protein and blah, blah, it's going to negatively affect your sleep. Then your cortisol levels are going to be more elevated. Then you're going to have more circulating like blood sugar. You're just going to have a lot more issues. It's going to compound into other things and lead you to more binge eating more often. So what you should be doing, in my experience and opinion, you should be focusing on building muscle. Because if you're training hard and lifting heavy weights, CrossFit is not necessarily lifting hard or lifting heavy weights. CrossFit is a lot of quote unquote metabolic, running around, high rep, exhaustive cardiovascular training. It's not even necessarily high intense cardiovascular. It's like literally doing long distance running with the way that they lift and cycle through. So I'm not saying you can't lose fat. I'm not saying you can't build some muscle. I'm not saying you can't get stronger, but it's really the same as having a lot of leftovers in the fridge and then throwing it all into a pot for a stew. You're just doing a lot of random stuff for the most part with high risk movements that are not necessarily targeted specific to what you want. So if you're trying to lose fat, CrossFit is not something that you do to lose fat. CrossFit is exactly what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. You're doing a lot of random stuff. Yes, I know some people that are diehards might be, well, there's some programming, there's some this. Maybe if you program it, a lot of times it's just a class like anything else, and you go and you do, here's the workout on the board. And you do a bunch of kipping pull-ups and you rope climb, and then you do some snatches or some burpees and some air bike stuff. I'm not saying you won't be exhausted, but how do you properly structure a program that's going to build lean mass, muscle, bone tissue, allow for chronic proper recovery, not chronic exhaustion, but chronic proper recovery that won't lead you to binging and other habits. It's not just the exercise. It's not just what you're doing in the gym. It's what you're doing outside. It's all the 7 pillars. Lacey says CrossFit is like sloppy light version of strongman. That's a great way to put it. That's a very good way to put it. So the problem is if you are a lady or anyone that wants to lose fat, people think losing weight. It's not the same thing. You don't want to lose bone and muscle mass. So you eat less, and then guess what you have to do if you want to lose more? You eat less. You're just starving yourself. You're not going to be able to repair enough from your training. You're going to be exhausted. So I would focus on getting in a very high amount. Focus on, forget the actual quantity, but focus on eating protein. For most people that are lifting weights that want to build muscle, it's anywhere to like 0.8 to a gram per pound of body weight. Some people say a gram per kilogram of body weight at least. There's a lot of different generalities there. But you want to focus on protein. It's the most satiating. And then you also want to be eating fats and some quality carbohydrates, but a structured weightlifting program that's going to be challenging you, progressively overloading, and giving you ample recovery. I just get concerned because I see people doing CrossFit 5 times a week or 3 times a week, but there's really no, it's just you're going to a class, you're going to whatever they have that day. And that's not a progressively periodized and progressed. And, it's not a proper program. But I don't like I don't like the crash dieting. I don't like the starvation approach. So if you look at the concentration camp victims from World War II, will you lose body mass? And yeah, you'll die. The human body can survive tremendous amounts of stress and starvation, but that's not a good weight loss. Okay, that's the extreme case. But that's what happens when you starve yourself. Your body is not going to tap into the fat first, it's going to tap into the muscle mass. It's going to tap into easily accessible glycogen stores in the muscle tissue and in the liver. And then it's going to go for the healthy tissue. It's not going to go for the extra fat first. It's going to do both. It will go for the fat over a long period of time if you're lifting weights, if you are eating quality food. And essentially what you're doing is you are, quote unquote, forcing the body to tap into extra energy on the body. It can't tap into the muscle because it needs that muscle. You're lifting weights regularly. The food and the protein, this and the other, it's going to repair muscle tissue. It's going to repair from your training. It's going to, and then we have this extra stuff on the side that we can kind of take as we need during the day when we're sitting around, foam rolling or going for a walk or reading a book or we're at work or in the shower or during sleep. Your body will tap into those fat stores. What you're trying to do is train your body to need the tools that you're giving it. You're giving it raw material to build lean mass and to repair tissue.